What's up, y'all? It's your rail fan for the 810 here, back at it again, exploring more abandoned railroad crossings on Google Maps. That's right, guys. You guys have been requesting it, as always, and I told y'all it was coming too in a previous live stream, so I guess that said, here it is. This is episode 12 of the series, and I would also like to thank y'all once again for the endless support on this series. It has been absolutely insane, and I figured this would be a good gift for y'all for my recent milestone 3,000 subscribers, which I would also like to once again thank y'all for. But yeah, I figured this would be a great time to release part 12 of Abandoned Railroad Crossings on Google Maps. And if you guys, if you're new to this series somehow, what we do in this series is we go on Google Maps, as you can see, and we tour a bunch of abandoned railroad crossings that were requested by my viewers, and we go over the overall equipment and history if it's provided, and it's going to be all over the United States and Canada for the locations for these abandoned railroad crossings. So if you have an abandoned crossing that you have in mind on Google Maps that you want me to review, be sure to comment it on this video in the comments below, on this video only, because there are some rules that I would like y'all to follow in the description below. So be sure to read over the rules before submitting an abandoned crossing for me to review, because, well, I get like tons and tons of requests a day, and it could get a bit out of hand. So be sure to carefully follow the rules in the description. And more notably, some of the rules that I would like to go over is you can only submit 2 crossings at a time, and comment it on this video only, because if you don't, then your request won't be fulfilled. So yeah, just read the rules down in the description below, and well, submit it in the comments, and maybe I'll review it in the next episode. So yeah, I guess with all that yammering out of the way, let's go ahead and get onto the video with our first crossing. Here we go. All right, in the first crossing, and we are actually starting out with the Canadian crossing today. This is located on Tashi Road in the middle of butt-funk nowhere in British Columbia, Canada, and I believe it's pronounced Bulkley Nachako. I don't know. I could be pronouncing that horribly wrong. And this one has been requested by Oval Aardvark 433. And as you can see with this comment right here, he provided a little bit of history on it. This crossing is actually a part of the CN Takla sub, a former BC rail line. I love the BC rail, my favorite Canadian fallen flag. The line is one of the most northernmost rail lines in Canada, and it was built in the 1970s by the Pacific Great Eastern, which was basically the predecessor railroad of BC Rail. And it was originally expected to go all the way down to a town called Dease Lake, but it only got to halfway there due to how expensive it was to build it, which I imagine it was around the mountains. This line eventually came with the BC Rail lease to CN and eventually stopped being used around 2010, and back in 2019, CN abandoned this line altogether, and it only seen log trains, which would make sense. And as for equipment and scenery here, it is absolutely beautiful around here. I believe this is the, hold on, let me check what mountains these are. I want to say the Rockies, but I'm not sure if that's correct, so. But as for equipment, I believe this is like literally the install that BC Rail installed themselves. We got some SafeTran 8-inch lights, or Rayco 8-inch lights, and we got a SafeTran mechanical bell, I think that's what it is. Yeah, it looks like a SafeTran mechanical bell. So we got SafeTran or Rayco 8-inch lights, and they're just mass signals. That's all there is here. But it's really, really cool of how, you know, isolated this line is. And it is definitely really cool that this was one of the most northern rail lines in Canada. And here is the tracks. As you can see, the rusty and grassy. Even though this line hasn't been abandoned for that long, but it's definitely starting to show its age. And as you can see, there's a little CN dot tag sticker on the mast right there, bright yellow, just like what Canada used back in the day. And there's some modern signage around here on this line, which is pretty interesting. Like I said, this line has not been abandoned for too long, for about 15 years, and we reviewed crossings in this series that were abandoned for like close to 50 years. But yeah, so with that said, this is a really cool one to start. Thank you, Oval Aardvark, for the request. This was definitely a neat one. So I guess with that said, let's move on to the next crossing. And yes, I know my reviews are kind of short in this episode. Well, that's because I got a lot of requests to go over. So I've been shortening my reviews, and that's why I've been limiting people on like a certain amount of crossings I could request, because, well, I get so many of them. The video would be like nearly 2 hours long if I went like super duper in depth with every single one and reviewed every single one. So with that said, let's go on to the next crossing. Peep that light bracket though. Okay, I'll stop. All right, in the next crossing, this one's located on Wisconsin 23 in around Reedsburg, Wisconsin, and this one has been requested by Cole Allers 4. And as you can see, he provided some history. This line was actually owned by the Wisconsin Southern Railroad, if that name sounds familiar. And the crossing was the part of the Reedsburg subdivision, but they cut off the track to shorten the line a bit, and took the rest of the tracks that went far down the line and turned it into a trail, as you can see from the satellite view. And as you can see in the modern street view, they took out all the signals as well. And this person actually saw in person about 3 times from 2021 to 2024. And fun fact, apparently the Reedsburg subdivision had a bunch of wigwags on the line as of the early or late 2010s, but obviously they were removed. So let's go ahead and go back in time and see what this had to... Oh, I don't have to go back that far. So yeah, as you can see, this crossing right here has the classic, like, intersection classic safe trans setup, like, with the cantilevers mixed in with the mass signals. We've seen a bunch of these setups in this series in the past, and I actually really enjoyed them. They're quite cool to see, and it's such a shame that they're, like, nearly all abandoned, because I don't think I ever seen, like, an active crossing with this exact setup. So as you can see, this has a pair of, I believe, like SafeTran or Rayco cantilevers, and all with SafeTran 12 by 24 inch incandescent lights. There's the big fat exempt sign on one of the cantilevers, and we have the mass signal over there, which contains the only bell, which looks like a SafeTran mechanical bell. Yep, once again, another SafeTran mechanical bell. Slap that in there. And the lights look like to be Hawker and SafeTran incandescent lights, 12 by 24 inch. But yeah, as you can see, way before they removed the signals, they cut the track off right before it touches the road, and they paved over it. What's going on over there? I was gonna say, it looks like a police officer knocking on someone's window or whatever, but no, it's probably like a worker of that nearby car place. But yeah, there's the tracks, and there's another crossing down there too. Looks like with like similar equipment. Now let's go way back in time and see what the line looked like then. Even then, back in 2009, the line did not look much better. Like, it just was very overgrown. They just have yet to pave over the crossing grade as of this timeline. But this was definitely a cool one, so thank you, Cole, for the request. This was neat. I really like the Wisconsin Southern Railroad, especially with all the crossing setups that they had in the past and whatnot, especially with all the wigwags. It's a big shame that the FRA doesn't like them anymore. So, yeah, I guess with all that said, let's move on to the next crossing. All right, and the next crossing is quite an interesting one. This one's located on Watkins Bridge Road in Greenville, South Carolina. Hey, I think I've been there. And this one's been requested by CSX Train Fan 319, and he also provided some history on this one. And also, thank you for providing the link. The link is actually really quick and useful. It makes the production of these videos go by way faster. But yeah, and he said, and according to him, the history of this one was, it was a part of the Greenville and Northern Railway, and it ran to River Falls, South Carolina, and in the 1950s, it was cut back to the Travelers Rest, and the rest of the line from Travelers Rest to Cleveland was not officially abandoned until 1970. The Greenville and Northern Railway was bought out by the Carolina Piedmont Division, which we toured a few of those crossings in past episodes here. And that was in 1997, and the last train that ran on this line was in January of 1998, and it was officially abandoned in 2005 and was turned into a trail around 2010. And boy, does it show. Look at what they did to these crossing signals, bro. This obviously had some cantilevers in the past, and they actually turned them into bike trail signals in case someone needed to cross the road. There was like a button that you could hit, or these would always flash, and there were to be 2 amber beacons flashing back and forth. And I like how where the bell was originally placed, they put the solar panel there, so I assume these always flash then in that case. So they put a sign there for bike crossing where the crossbook was, and I assume a top crossbook was up here at one point, so they put another trail crossing sign here. Now let's see what the crossing looked like when it still had its equipment back in 2012. So yeah, as you can see, this had the typical SafeTran setup with more I think these are SafeTran lights. These could be very well Modern Industries. These are Modern Industries. Yep, Modern Industries cantilevers, lights, and did this have a Modern Industries bell? That could be a Modern Industries mechanical bell, if not a WRS or Western Cullen Hayes. Pretty interesting. And as you can see, there's the trail that they laid down, but they have not completed completely asphalted over the crossing grade until like later on, which is interesting. Like if we go to March 2016, that's when they paved it over, and apparently the relay case was spared, but I think that was like removed later on too. Yep, it was. With the and no motor vehicle sign replaced it. Man, this is really cool. It's quite interesting to see like abandoned crossings like these get turned into like, you know, repurposed into completely different signage. It's quite interesting. And the overall scenery is cool too. Like since I've been down south like a couple times already in my life already, I really like the overall scenery around. It's definitely really cool. Definitely a good mix between like what's here in the Midwest and what's in the East or whatever, like a little bit of both, you know. But yeah, definitely a cool crossing. Thank you, CSX Train Fan, for the request. This was definitely an interesting one. But obviously, I mean, it's quite cool to see that the signals literally still stand, but they're repurposed. Very interesting. So yeah, I guess with that said, let's go on to the next crossing. All right, and the next crossing is located on US 401 or Main Street in Wagram, North Carolina. And this one has been requested by Christopher Johnson, and he also provided a bit of history on this one as well as a few outside sources. So in real life, Chris passed through this crossing a few times before, and the majority of the line is either out of service or abandoned right now, and he's not sure why. And apparently one of these cantilevers right here, according to him, had a Western Cullen Hayes mechanical bell before it was replaced with a SafeTran one back in July of 2018, which we will see in a second. He linked a Wikipedia site about this crossing, which was cool. Screw it. Let's take a look at it, shall we? So, it's the Laurinburg and Southern Railroad, which was the railroad this was formerly owned by, which is quite interesting. I assume it's one of those short lines that the Carolinas had, but that went defunct because reasons. Geez, that is a very long bowl. So yeah, as you can see, this crossing right here is another one of those classic examples of turn the lights to the side and call it good. So yeah, when this crossing was abandoned, they completely defunctorized it, if that's even a word, by turning the lights to the side. And these are all, once again, SafeTran lights. So I'm seeing a trend here. A lot of SafeTran stuff. So yeah, you can see this has SafeTran and Modern Industries overhead lights. And he said there was a Western Cullen Hayes mechanical bell here. So I think I got to go back in time to see that because it could have very well been removed. Okay. So I see a gate mechanism over there, which I assume is a SafeTran one with the Modern Industries arms, which I assume that's what it is due to the correlation of the lights and cantilevers. But still no bell, though. Where's that bell at? Where are you at? I can't seem to find it. I mean, I don't know when this line has been abandoned. The requester did not provide when it was abandoned, but okay, so we're now in the times when the lights were still facing the correct direction. So I assume if we go back, there we go. This is when it still had its gates. So if we go back in this time, there's the bell. Yeah, there's a SafeTran mechanical bell. And can you see the Western Cullen Hayes one in Street View? Apparently not. The bell's gone after 2019, 2020 or what. So yeah, as you can see with the track additions, they don't look very good. I assume a switch used to be right here. Yeah, it looks like a switch used to be right here, which is cool. And looking the other way, you can see how overgrown and rusty it is. I'm surprised that this hasn't been removed. And is the rail supposed... Oh, wait, no, that's just the check rails on the crossing grade. But yeah, it's quite interesting to see. And you got the classic Google Maps glitch right here that makes it look like it has 3 lights, but it doesn't. And here's a dot tag right here. And... yeah, that's pretty much it. In this nice little town in North Carolina, there's just this abandoned railroad that just kind of chills here. And to look at what it looks like today, it looks like the grass has just got greener. And apparently the switch stand exists again. Well, obviously it probably always existed, but like, you know, it was buried in the bull crap. But yeah, so yeah, once again, thank you for the request. This was an interesting one. So yeah, I guess with all this said, let's go on into the next crossing. Hopefully I'm timing my pauses right, so it's like, let's go on to the next crossing. All right, guys, this is... And then when I unpause, there's like a second of silence. I don't know, comment below. Do you guys like the quality of these videos? I'm trying to improve on my video making here. Anyways, let's move on, dang it. Oh, and as you can see, guys, if you look right here, I'm sorry, we're not moving on quite yet. I am actually split screening YouTube and Google Maps so I can quickly punch everything in. And yes, every single crossing reviewed in this video was by first impression, unless I say otherwise. So yeah, that's, I guess, what makes this series interesting, minus the abandoned crossings themselves. Also, hi, Joseph. All right, and the next crossing I'm going to check out here is at Prairie Street in Chatsworth, California. And this one has been requested by Pling, or Pling Person. And this one is definitely a cool one, too. Even though he hasn't really provided much history, but if you look around, there isn't really much around to explain. So I assume this was owned by, like, a branch line of, judging from the crossing equipment, not BNSF, Union Pacific. And this, the only remaining signal as of, oh wait, no, there's both signals here as of 7 years ago. Features some Western Cullen Hayes incandescent lights and Western Cullen Hayes nothing else. But if you go in the now time, the line ends right here, right where they put this new high rise, and this is the only signal that's remaining. And if you look at the line itself right here, as you can see, it's been overgrown with grass, and there is also a is that a derail, or is it just a pile of sticks? I think it's just a pile of sticks. It's quite interesting how a little branch line like this just once cut through this entire city. So it's just another example of, you know, this line right here that cuts right through the middle of a fracking city. It's not doing us enough revenue, so let's abandon it or whatever. But yeah, so you can see there is once again a couple of Western Cullen Hayes, or just one as of this timeline. It's either Western Cullen Hayes or WRS. Well, even though they're technically the same, one of them's just a predecessor of one another, of the other, is what I meant to say. But if I go back in time, I want to see if there's more to this, you know. I can't really see what exactly the cantilever is made by. Probably one of those Walpar or WRS ones, if I had to take a guess. Let's see. Let's go back in time. Oh, found the bells. There are the bells, which are Western Cullen Hayes, second gen mechanical bells. All right, cool. So yeah, this is definitely a cool one. I really like all the palm trees around. It definitely makes it look, you know, tropical, like the classic California abandoned crossing scenery kind of deal. So thank you, Pling, for the request. This was definitely cool. I wonder what this was owned by. I'm just gonna guess Union Pacific. That's what I'm gonna guess, because most of the crossings that are abandoned in California are owned by UP. But yeah, as you can see, there's a switch going to somewhere, like where that apartment complex was in the modern times. Now, if we go back further in time, oh, this crossing had gates? What? Okay, I did not know that. Oh, there was a foundation sitting right there that my eye caught a little bit ago, but I guess I wasn't paying attention. I was like, oh, that could be a foundation for something else. Gate. So yeah, apparently this crossing had gates in the past, but they were fully removed between 2008 and 2012. So there you have it. So yeah, thank you for the request. Now let's go on to the next crossing. All right, in the next crossing, we're going back to Canada for this one, and this one's located on Main Street in Braddior, Nova Scotia. I hope I pronounced that right. And this one's been requested by DatBoy033, and as you can see, he provided a bit of history on this one. So the line going through here was owned by CN, but was bought out by a Genesee and Wyoming company, railroad by the CBNS, which is a GNW short line in Canada, apparently. That's what I meant to say. And the line was called the Sydney Subdivision. It was abandoned back in 2015 due to a lack of business, and this railroad could possibly getting a new passenger rail soon, but there is a slim chance of it happening. And there's also a video of this crossing in action, which we will check out in a moment. So yeah, if we look around, there's definitely a there's some cool things going on. This is a very old setup, as you can see. It's just a couple of mass signals once again, just like the other one we reviewed earlier. And this one has, I believe, all WRS 8-inch lights, like the early ones, the ones just after the cast iron 8-inch lights. So yeah, all WRS 8-inch lights. Well, I think this side is SafeTran 8-inch lights, as you can see. Yep, sitting on that is a funky light bracket. Is it Rayco? These could be Rayco or SafeTran 8-inch lights, and it has a Rayco or Griswold mechanical bell. It could be a Rayco mechanical bell, judging for the lights, or it could be Griswold. I don't know. This is a very old signal setup, obviously, so they could very well be Griswold, but we'll see in the video once we check that out in a second. So here's the relay case, and the light is still on, which is interesting. So literally a train could go through here and the crossing will activate. That is pretty cool. But yeah, according to the guy, there is a chance that this line could be reactivated, but the chances are slim. But definitely really cool to see around. Another like somewhat mountainous area, not super mountainous, but like decent. This line kind of reminds me of, like, you know, that one area on the CN Bessemer sub where the Osgood Viaduct goes right over the NS Youngstown line, even though there isn't a second line here. Wow, definitely a really cool crossing setup. I really like it. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the video of the crossing in action, shall we? All right, and here's the video, which is actually a video of the very final 301, which I believe is the train symbol going through this line, ever going through this line from Sydney. And once again, as always, credit goes to Kishi902. I am not trying to take your video and claim it as mine. I'm just watching it in my video for reaction purposes only. And there is some music in this video, so hopefully it's not copyrighted. So let's check it out. All right, so here's the Bras d'Or crossing. It is actually called the Iking siding. Iking siding? I don't know. I can't pronounce anything worth the crap. That mechanical bell sounds very flat. And that is a very funky horn. Definitely really cool. Even despite the fact that this was a G&W owned short line, it's pretty cool to see that they have their own painted power they have yet to repaint in the G&W colors, which obviously did not happen since this line has been abandoned due to lack of business, and I assume that the line isn't doing as good as its competitors per se. But yeah, definitely cool Nova Scotia crossing owned by a short line. Thank you, Dat Boy, for the request. This was definitely a cool one. So, I guess with that said, let's move on to the next crossing. Alright, and the next crossing was hilariously hard to find because of the name of the road, literally called Hitch and Peters Road, which I thought the requester was like, you know, requesting two different road names because it's like on an intersection or whatever. And this one's located in Evansville, Indiana, and this one has been requested by CSX Railfan 38, and he has some history on this one. So this was actually an industrial spur that came from the nearby CSX yard, which is mostly now used for interchanges, some storage, and local runs, you know, per the usual small yard thing. The tracks connected to some industries like the Purina plant. I cannot with the Purina plant, which is still active. However, some of the tracks have been ripped up, and he also edited it and said just wanted to give some more info about the CSX yard that is still active some. And it was built by the CNE around the CE&I railroad around the 1930s or whatever, and, you know, quickly changed ownership to L&N. Well, not quickly, in the 70s. And now CSX, per the usual. But yeah, this crossing's kind of basic, though it does have some interesting things going on, saying Funk 12 spray painted on the yield sign by lower class people, and the Crossing Railroad crossbuck, which is quite interesting. And the dot tags, though, they don't look like CSX, that's the thing. There's a dot number 539735Y, I think that's what it was. 797Y, my bad. But yeah, it's quite interesting. Maybe this is maintained by like a different railroad, because I saw in satellite view there's a bunch of like cuts of tracks that go into like multiple grain elevators or whatever. So yeah, that's the crossing right here. Actually, let me look around this road because I have a slight feeling this ain't the right crossing. Hold on. Yep, there is another crossing on Hitch and Peters right here. Now let's check it out. And okay, this one actually looks way more abandoned. Yep, there it is. And there's also CSX tags on this one. Yep, just like the old last episode where I accidentally looked at the wrong crossing in the very end because, well, there was multiple crossings on one road. So that's also another reason why you guys should provide the link or like the exact coordinates or addresses to, you know, the crossing you want me to review, or else I might mess it up and get the wrong one if there's more than one on the same road. So yeah, once again, this one has crossbucks, and this one right here, unlike the other one on the same road, the tracks are definitely they're not coming back. They've been ripped up. And if we go back in time, let's check out what it looked like back then. Oh, there was another track here at one point. That's interesting. And there's a switch going to God knows where. Looks like just off to the grass, which is funny. So if you go back further in time, let's see what's here. Not a lot, honestly. Like, I was expecting more. Oh well. It's still a cool crossing. So thank you, CSX Railfan, for the request. Definitely a really funny road name. I was like, I wasn't about to get juked by a road name that's literally called Hitch and Peters. And, you know, something rather. I thought it was two different rows. And there's some 3 bays sitting over there. Or 4 bays if you rail car enthusiasts are in the chat. Well, actually, wait. I think the bays are the things in the bottom. So yeah, those are 4 bays. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, I guess that said, let's go ahead and go on to the next crossing. Here we go. All right, in the next crossing, and the person has actually two crossings for his request. The first one is located on South Dunn Street in Euphoria, Mississippi, requested by Barth the player, and he did provide a little bit of history for both. So this first crossing we're looking at South Dunn Street. It was owned by a line by the Columbus and Greenville Railway. This specific line ran from West Point to Greenwood, Mississippi, unknown when it was abandoned. But if we look around, first of all, this has its own depot, which is pretty cool. Yep, the Euphoria depot right there. And second of all, this has some pretty cool stuff. Some old, like I would say 70s era Safe Tran cantilevers that are really large. So there's the first one, and here's the second one, as you can see. All of the lights being 12 by 20 inch lights. Hold on, these don't look like they're Safe Tran. Are they Safe Tran? What is that brand? It looks like Western Coal and Hayes or like Modern Industries, but I can't really tell. Hold on, let me do some poking around here. Honestly, I can't tell. These are sitting on a Cerami light bracket, so I was gonna say they're Cerami lights. I don't know. Did Cerami make lights? Let me look that up. It don't look like it. I don't know. I mean, from the light heads, they kind of look like Western Coal and Hayes, but the backgrounds and visors make them look like Safe Tran. That's the weird part. They could be L&W lights, though I doubt it. But yeah, point being, this is a cool crossing. You have two massive cantilevers and a Safe Tran mechanical bell and a depot next to them. Oh, and there's also a mass signal over there. I didn't even see it until now. Oh, okay. So it's just going to go back in time automatically because, well, it wants to. So yeah, as you can see, the crossbucks on these crossing signals are really faded. Even the backgrounds and visors on each light, they're also really faded. Ooh, maybe if I can get close enough to here, I can see what these lights are. No, I can't. But yeah, here's the tracks. This was obviously like a main and a siding or a double main, but according to the person, this was according to the person. I'm sorry, but yeah, this is obviously a main and a siding. Definitely really cool to see a depot here. I was not expecting that. But yeah, with that said, let's go on to a second request, which is located right here. This one's a cool one. Located at East Main Street in Buena Vista, Colorado. And the second crossing right here is on the Tennessee Pass, which ran from Salida to Leadville, Colorado. And it was abandoned in 1998 when Union Pacific absorbed the line. And man, we got some cool stuff to go over. So first of all, get the obvious part out of the way. This crossing used to have wishbone gates, and part of them are still standing, as you can see. Yep, there's the gate mechanism right here, which I assume is like an old GRS or WRS gate mechanism with the big old counterweights, because those wishbone gates back in the day were really heavy because they were made out of wood and have like two parts to them, while these ones were made of metal, it looks like. Once again, with more of these unknown lights, I believe from looking from this angle, I believe these are WRS 12 by 20 inch incandescent lights now, and judging from the rest of the setup. And as you can see, the people in town really decked the heck out of this this gate mechanism with stickers, which is quite cool. And if I go over here, I think I could see the gate mechanism brand, which looks to be GRS. I don't know. There's not a lot of labeling on these. And this freaking street view is throwing me all over the place. Holy crap. Take me back to the crossing. You don't have to I did not click there. Come on, just go back. Go back. Thank you. And from the bell, it looks like the bell looks like to be a WRS mechanical bell. Now let's see what this crossing looked like back in the day. Let's see if there's a timeline where if the gates were still fully there. I wonder if they were. Apparently not. They always looked like that ever since the line was abandoned back in 98. But yeah, if we look at the tracks, they're still there for the most part, which is pretty neat. Oh, and back in this time, 2012, the road looks like it was repaved. But yeah, it goes far. It looks like it goes over a big trestle down there, which is pretty cool. But yeah, there's the other direction. Looks like it's facing towards a few more crossings, as I can see in my peripherals. You can see the mountains in the background and the relay case with the slightly modified Geo Metro next to it. Got 3 speeds, here, there, and gone. And what? There's a bell on the relay case. I just realized that. Hold on. Yeah, there's a bell on the relay case. Looks like a Rayco mechanical bell. That is cool. How there's one bell on the crossing signal over there and one on the relay case. I have never seen that before. That is very interesting, most definitely. So yeah, once again, thank you for the requests. These were pretty cool. I liked them. Very tasteful equipment and scenery around. So with that said, let's go on to the next crossing. All right, and the next crossing is definitely a neat one. I don't know if it's still active or not. We'll review it anyway because it's cool. And this one's located on 345 Bailey Road. I literally just said the full legal address. In Crystal City, Missouri. And yes, this person has been here before, and it's been requested by Trackmaster Studios, if you're wondering. He has no history on this, but he knows it's owned by Union Pacific. But from the looks of it, it doesn't really look that abandoned. As you can see, it has LEDs, a Western Cullen Hayes E-Bell, but we do have an old cantilever over here. I believe an old USNS cantilever, and with LEDs on it. And you can see the UP dot tags are still on it and everything. Now let's go back in time and see. Oh, yeah, the rails are pretty rusty back in the day. Let's go back to 2021 and see what it looks like. And the rails are shiny, and the relay case light is on. What about in the modern times? It might be still on, but I can't really tell. Yeah, this is interesting. If we go back in 2018, there used to be some like more architecture here, which is quite cool. Like there's an old shack over there, which has been since removed. And 2009, there was more to offer. And the crossing setup is older too. As you can see, did not mean to. The masts here are obviously older back in the day, and it still has an E-Bell, which is interesting. I wonder if the lights are incandescent during this timeline. But obviously really isn't a way to tell between then and 2018 because it hasn't been updated in nearly 10 years. So yeah, that's definitely a cool thing to see. You can see they repainted this mast, so this is most likely still active. That I can't really confirm, but I guess thanks for the request. This was a cool little bonus crossing to feature, and definitely a very wacky like signal placing too. Like the two signals are they're in line with each other due to how sharp the grade placement is with the road, the angling is per se. So yeah, I guess that said, let's move on to the next crossing. All right, in the next crossing, I didn't think I would find, but I did find it anyway. And this one has been, this one is located on East Uniacke Road in Mount Uniacke, Nova Scotia, Canada. Yes, another Canada crossing. And this one's a cool one, too. And this one's been requested by Jonathan Alonso Areola, if I could pronounce anything. There is no history on this one, but as you can see, it has one signal left in the 2020s. But if we look at the relay case, there's only an in case of emergency tag on it, no real railroads. But if we look at the single signal that still stands here, let's see what it has. Looks like all old WRS or USNS 8-inch lights, but that's about it. Now let's go back in 2012 to see if there is anything else to look at. I don't know what lights these are. These could be like old Canada only kind of lights. Oh, and here's the second signal, which had looked like all Western Cullen Hayes 8-inch lights, perhaps. Yeah, or WRS, and this had a Western Cullen Hayes mechanical bell, which looks newer, like it was installed like right before the line was abandoned, or it was always there, I don't know. But yeah, this is definitely a cool crossing, right in the middle of nowhere, seemingly, and you can see the line has obviously seen better days, all the rust and trees and bushes growing around in both directions per the usual. And this is right by a little creek too, which is pretty cool. So I imagine when this line was still active, you could like photograph a train right here and it'd look cool. I assume there's some photos floating around on the internet of this place. I assume so. So yeah, I guess with that said, this was definitely a cool one. Not a lot to show here, but definitely cool to look at. So thank you for the request. So I guess with that said, let's move on to the next one. All right, and the next crossing looks familiar. Didn't I already review this one, or was the crossing really similar? Hold on, let me check.
Hold up.
I did already review this crossing. Well, you're banned. Nah, I'm just kidding. Well, I guess with that said, he did request 2 crossings, so I guess I can review the second one, but we can read over the history on this crossing, because when I reviewed it in a previous episode, I did not review the history of it because I didn't know it, but Piedmont Road at Slack Street in Charleston, West Virginia. Welcome back. And this crossing is located on an industrial spur track that Norfolk Southern used to own up until the early 2000s, which NS would go on to sell on the main line of the Kanawha River Railroad in the mid-2010s, which the Kanawha River is something I want to chase in the future. But yeah, he goes over the equipment that, this crossing had: WRS 8-inch lights and old cantilever. This was definitely a really cool setup to look at in the past. And it also had a Harmon crossbuck, which those are kind of rare to find nowadays. And it's a bit of a mixed bag on equipment because he said there was some transport products equipment on one of the mast signals. But yeah, definitely pretty cool. Now, anyways, let's go on to your other request. Boomer, North Carolina. Really? Just like Clappers, Minnesota, bro. This is wild. Anyways, now let's actually find it. Mount Airy. Okay, sorry. I know North Carolina has a lot of goofy names, but let's be serious this time. So his other request is on NC 18 or State Route 18 in North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. And he's not sure about the history on this line, but it's definitely a pure 1980s or 90s Norfolk Southern install. But yeah, he told me to go back in time to see some pretty interesting things. So if we go back in 2013, he told me that's when the bell used to be still there. You have the Safe Train mechanical bell, but as you can see, if we go in the future, it has since been... Oh, it's still there. Hold on. It's since been removed. There it goes. And as you can see the classic Carolina down south kind of ordeal where it used to have gates, but they removed them. But other than that, this has a pretty cool setup and really interesting how they put the gates. Like, they literally they tied up the gates to the mast, bro. What the heck? But yeah, if we look at the signal equipment around, yeah, I can definitely tell this was an old NS install with old Safe Train cantilevers, incandescent lights, 12 by 20 inch, and the mast lights over here have 8-inch lights, which is cool. And there's a relay case right here. And if we look at the track view, they still exist in this direction, but not so much in this direction. It's just fields now, and you can say they put a house there. I mean, I don't know if the house is new. I'll have to go back in time. But yeah, if you look down there, you can see an old depot and more crossings, which is pretty neat. Pretty neat stuff, I have to say. But if we go back... Whoa. Okay, there actually used to be a whole nother something here. I don't know why I didn't realize it just from the blank space and concrete there. But yeah, you can see there's an old like factory-like building that used to stand here, which I assume used to be like an old spur or industry that NS used to serve. Didn't he say this is a... I don't know. But this is definitely a really neat install, so thank you for the requests. I would suggest watching previous episodes before requesting, but I would always take a look at them first before I, not take a look at them and review them first, but see if I already reviewed them or not. So, I guess with that said, let's move on to the next crossing. Oh, and before I move on, the previous crossings were requested by Dylan the Video Maker 2003. Sorry I did not mention your name, but thanks for the request. And you got a good taste in content, too. But yeah, the next crossing right here is located on US 62 near El Paso, Texas, and this one's been requested by Jacob Garcia, and he provided a little bit of history and the link on this one as well, so thank you for the link. And he said there's an abandoned crossing near this airport, which I looked around and there was an airport, but not like super close to here, and it's been out of service since 2010, but they filed for abandonment in 2020, so everything's still here, as you can see. So if we look around, it's another big cantilever kind of situation setup, which is cool, with mostly Western Coal and Hayes equipment like incandescent lights, the E-bell, and the gate mechanisms. There's a couple of 8-inch lights here too, or actually those are not 8-inch lights. Actually, correction, all these are actually Harmon lights. Yeah, these are all Harmon 12 by 24-inch lights, incandescent or LED, but this is a divided highway setup, which is cool. So you got 2 outer cantilevers, and in the median you got 2 mast signals, all of which are gated, which is quite interesting. And from the looks of it, this was owned by Union Pacific in the past. So yeah, definitely another one of those branch lines down south and out west that's been not getting like enough revenue to keep going, so they abandoned it for like cost cutting reasons, I assume. But yeah, this was abandoned recently, like you said, like back in the 2010s, like early 2010 or whatever, and you can see everything is still here. It has the E-bells, the lights that are turned facing towards each other or away, good old turn the lights off and, call it good. And you got, I'm trying to see if these are LED or not, but the frickin' thing keeps kicking me out. Sorry. But yeah, it looks like they're all LEDs or whatever, but Yeah, the pretty cool setup. So thank you for the request. This was a neat one, so I did not mean to open it. Whatever. So yeah, let's move on to the next crossing. And another CPKC military units on a friggin' Oakwood CPKC Wabash Line train. Is it leading? It's freaking leading! Whatever, I will get one of those eventually. I will get one of them. Leading! But it's Harrod tables. You can't always friggin' count on those reports. Whatever. I just like to rage. It takes the heebie-jeebies out, if that makes sense. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Let's stop yammering and move on with the friggin' thing. And I just realized my address is right there. I should probably blur that. Anyways, moving on with this next crossing, which is pretty cool, located on West Malvern Avenue in Fullerton, California. And this one has been requested by Aiden Roman, X9D, and this is their first time requesting an abandoned crossing to the series. Hello, welcome to the series. So this is another southwestern crossing, and this one's actually by Anaheim and Long Beach. Pretty iconic towns, if you ask me, for certain musical bands. I'm a music guy, don't mind. And they did provide some history. So this was a branch line owned by Union Pacific, and they would serve the Hunt's tomato sauce factory. Heck yeah. And eventually in the early 1990s, Union Pacific abandoned the line. Now, if I look north, the line will still continue and it heads straight into a BNSF main line. But as you can see, that's all chopped up by now. And facing south, it merges onto another spur line, which is interesting. Now, for the crossing, though, this has some pretty cool equipment. As you can see, this had an old Griswold EM pedestal style gate mechanism, as you can see, which was modernized with some safe tran lights, as you can see, which are now all turned to the side and tracks out of service did. And this is the only signal that remains on this crossing too, as of this timeline 6 months ago. Now, if we go back in time, will the other signal be there? Yes, but it's like just a pole. That's just sad. So, but however, it doesn't really match the other signal, which is interesting. Maybe it had another Griswold pedestal gate mech here, but they replaced it because it was either knocked down or crashed into or whatever. But if we go way back, this is still there. But if we go back in 2011, the gate and the bell are still here. And as you can see, these have the NEG clear LED gate lights, which is pretty cool in this gate mech. Pretty cool modernizing. I can't really tell if the lights have been LED-ified or still incandescent. And the bell looks like a Griswold mechanical bell. And here's the other signal, which looks newer. Yeah, this is definitely a newer signal with the Western Cullen Hayes LEDs, gate mechanism, and the E-bell, which is all pretty cool. Man, I really like setups like these where it's mismatched and abandoned now. Pretty interesting. And if you look right here, there's a trestle that goes over what looks like a dam. That is very cool. That is interesting to see. Yeah, a little trestle right here. And here's the track directions once again, which apparently this merges into another spur line, and this merges right onto a BNSF main line, which is interesting. So I wonder if BNSF transfer jobs ran on this line when it was still active. But yeah, as you can see, the switch that used to be right here has been all torn out and whatnot, and that's all that remains. Definitely a shame, but definitely some really cool history. I like the tomato sauce factory, man. So thank you for the request. This was a cool one, and it's now midnight. You know me, second shift boyo, always doing this kind of crap. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next request, or crossing request crossing. All right, in the next and final crossings we will be looking at in this video, because this requester promised, well, he didn't promise, but yeah, he said that they were good, and he requested more than one of these. And the first one I was looking at is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Brooksville, Florida. And he requested like 4 different ones. And this first one right here kind of looks like it's still active unless I didn't look hard enough. And these were requested by Train World Studio. And he said these were pretty good. So you should definitely try these. So yeah, let's look around, shall we? So this one's still active. Oh wait, I'm on West Dr. MLK Jr. Boulevard, not East. Oh, it changes to East. East Hannah Avenue in the east side of Tampa, Florida. There's like 1,000 crossings on this road, dude. Anyways, I'll stop being aggressive and get to work on looking at these. Oh, wow, that's a cool crossing setup. But looks active, though. What about this one? Oh, maybe abandoned? This one. This one. Ooh, 8-inch lights. And okay, that one actually does look abandoned. What about this one? Yeah, they got more abandoned as I went on. Okay, that's pretty cool then. So we looked at several different crossings owned by like little spurs off by CSX, I assume. So here's the actual abandoned one on East Hannah Avenue in Tampa, Florida. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of going on over here. So the requester did not provide history, but there was well, cool equipment stuff. So from the looks of it, this has Modern Industries 8-inch lights on that first signal, and a mixture of, I think, Modern Industries and Harman 12 by 24-inch LEDs, which is interesting. And we got two mechanical bells here, both of which are painted different colors. I assume the first one's like a, oh wait, no. This first one kind of looks like a Modern Industries mechanical bell because of the way it's like sitting and how wide it is. While this other one looks like a WRS or early Western Cullen Hayes mechanical bell. Definitely really cool. So you can see the rails are overgrown here. This was, looked like a double main? I don't know. Not a double main, but like, hold on. Let's go back in time and see what was here. No, it was always single track. But yeah, you can see the weeds are more cleared out over here. And you can see some cars. Actually, never mind. That's just a mirage. Like a big old bush that looks like rail cars way further down. Now, if we go back in time, it still looks awful over here. What about 2007? Oh, there could be rail cars down there, but looks like a very dying industry over here. I wonder if the signal had those like LEDs. No. When did it get those LEDs, I wonder? Let's surf through the timeline. Nope. Wait, what? Hold on, is the crossing in action here? Huh? That is so weird. If you look right here, you can see the side indicator is on that light, which means the crossing's activated. Yeah, the crossing's activated here. Huh? There's some signal maintainers over here, or whomstevever, activating the crossing. That is cool. So the crossing was still turned on as of, when was that? 2011? Yeah. Actually, no, I can't really tell. Let's see here. Oh no, the light was like cracked open right here back at that timeline. So it looked like it was flashing, but no, the crossing was actually in action during one of these timelines. I wonder when it was. 2013 was it? Yep, 2013. So you can see one light is on, but that other front one isn't. So it's either burnt out or it's on separate reverse flash relays or whatever. That is really cool. I wonder how they're doing that. Like this guy has this like little dolly thing here. But if we go back, we could, oh wait, no, it's not, what? What's going on here? Is there a ghost train, or just these guys just randomly appeared, activated the crossing for like 2 seconds and disappeared? Huh? Yeah, that is definitely a very interesting final crossing to tour. So actually, now let's check out the other ones that the guy requested. He did not request anything else. So I guess that leaves us with the final good note, final good crossing to review for the video. So I guess with that said, that is all the crossings I've had today. So thanks for watching. If you guys enjoyed, as always, leave a thumbs up and subscribe, and comment below what crossings you want me to tour next. Obviously, follow the rules in the description before commenting your crossing request for me. Comment it on this video, and be sure to provide exact locations for me to find it easily for you guys. And also, obviously, make sure the crossing's abandoned too, because this is exploring abandoned crossings on Google Maps, not active crossings on Google Maps, but whatever. And I forgot to mention, the crossing requests are going to be limited to only 2 per person. And if you guys didn't see your request featured in this video, you're always more than welcome to comment it below in the latest episode of this series, which in this case, as of when it was uploaded, October 11th or 12th, depending on when I upload this video, 2025, this is the latest episode. So, I guess all that said, I cannot do outro anymore. That is all I have for y'all today, and wherever I may go next, hope to see y'all trackside. Over and out.